The Filter That Sees. Part 1. Lily had always been hooked on the dark web's hidden gems, a digital underworld where the curious could unearth the strange and rare. Late one night, curled up in her dimly lit room with her phone, she stumbled across a post on an obscure forum, a download link for a photo filter app called Mirror Mask. No preview, just a cryptic note about seeing the real you. Intrigued, she grabbed it, expecting some quirky effect. The app installed a sleek black icon with no name and she opened it. The camera flicked on, her face framed in the lens, and a filter loaded. Her eyes glowed faintly, her smile stretched wider. Text blinked at the bottom. Lily, her name stark against the screen. She blinked, her stomach tightening, but dismissed it as a gimmick, closing the app. The phone felt heavier in her hand, the silence prickling her skin. Sleep came slow. Her phone dark on the nightstand. She dreamed of a warped mirror, her face shifting, eyes glowing, whispering, "Lily." She jolted awake, the clock reading to 17 a.m., her breath fogging in the cold. The phone glowed faintly. The app opened though she hadn't touched it, her filtered face staring back. Text typing, "You're beautiful." A hum buzzed from the speakers, soft and low, like static with a pulse, and the whisper came not a dream, but real, faint and chilling. "Lily, you're seen." She swiped it shut, the glow fading, but the hum lingered in her ears, the whisper echoing in the dark. The next day, she couldn't shake it. The phone worked fine, texts, pics, no trace of the app's oddity, but the whisper stuck, a hum that followed her through the apartment, through the streets. She opened it again, her face loaded, eyes glowing brighter, smile wider. Text typing, "Lily, you're beautiful." She hit exit, but the screen flickered, the app reopening on its own. The hum pulls sharper, shadows shifting in the corners of her vision, tall, thin, swaying faintly. She deleted the app, but it reinstalled instantly, the hum vibrating through the room, the whisper growing, "Lily, you're seen." Curiosity turned to dread. She dove back into the dark web, hands trembling, searching for answers. A buried thread mentioned Mirror Mask, a filter tied to a vlogger named Arya Quinn, who'd vanished after posting, "It's not an app, it's me." The last line chilled her. "Don't use it, it sees you back." She shut the phone off, but the screen glowed through the night, the app alive, her filtered face typing, "Lily, you're beautiful." She yanked the battery, but the glow persisted, the whisper threading through her skull, "Lily, you're seen." That evening, the whisper turned to words, soft, insistent, weaving through the hum, "Lily, I'm closer." She stayed in the kitchen, lights blazing, but the sound followed, seeping from the walls, the ceiling, her own breath. Sleep came unbidden, and she stood before the filter, her face warped, eyes glowing, text typing, "Lily, you're beautiful." Shadows, shifting behind the screen, their heads tilted, watching. The whisper swelled, "Lily, you're seen." She woke gasping, the clock stuck at 17 a.m., the phone on her lap. She hadn't moved it, the app glowing, shadows swaying in the corners, their forms tall and silent. The apartment felt smaller, the air thicker, as if the filter watched from every angle. She tried uninstalling it, reset the phone, smashed the SIM, but the app returned, her face typing, "Lily, I'm closer." The hum pulsed louder, the shadows bolder, standing in doorways, tilting their heads, shifting with her reflection. The whisper chanted, "Lily, you're seen." She turned away, but the mirror flickered, her filtered face glowed there too, eyes shining, shadows shifting behind it. Arya's warning burned in her mind, "It sees you back." Sleep eluded her, the hum a roar, the whisper a demand, "Lily, I'm watching." She dreamed or didn't of her face warping faster, "Lily, you're beautiful." Shadows stretching from the screen, their forms tall and thin, their heads tilted as if they knew her. She woke to the glow, the clock, frozen, the app nearer, her filtered face typing endlessly, shadows standing still, their presence a cold that sank into her skin. The apartment trembled, the hum a low storm, the whisper insistent, "Lily, I'm closer." She didn't want to, didn't dare, but her hands moved anyway, drawn to the phone, the filter alive, the shadows waiting still, silent, watching. The night stretched on, the filter's glow bending the light, twisting it into a shimmer that pulsed with the hum. The shadows stood out tall, thin, faceless, watching from the walls, the windows, the dark. The whisper wove through it, "Lily, you're seen." She tried to scream, but the sound was swallowed, the hum spiking, the shadows tilting closer, their presence, a weight that crushed her lungs. The apartment wasn't hers anymore, it belonged to the filter, to the face that warped itself to the thing that whispered, and she was its captive, trapped by a screen she couldn't close, a hum she couldn't silence. Part 2. Lily's apartment had become a cage under the filter's relentless gaze, its glowing screen a portal to a terror that clawed at her every breath. The hum wasn't just a sound anymore, it was a presence, a low drone that pulls through the walls, the floor, her skull, a vibration that sank into her bones, her chest, her soul, tugging at her with every flicker. The clock hadn't moved past to 17 a.m. since she'd last dared to check, its digits flickering like a dying flame, a cruel mockery of time that no longer held. The phone glowed brighter, its screen a cold abyss of warped beauty, her filtered face closer now, eyes shining, smile stretching, text typing itself, "Lily, you're beautiful," casting a shimmer that twisted the room into something alive, something whispering. The whisper wove through it, threading her name into the silence. "Lily, I'm closer." Sleep was a distant memory, replaced by a haze where the hum ruled. She'd tried to kill the filter, deleted the app, smashed the phone with a hammer, but the pieces glowed, the face reloading on every device she touched, typing, "Lily, you're seen." The shadows stood closer now, tall, thin, faceless, swaying with the filter's rhythm, their forms sharper in the dim light, their heads tilting as if they saw her. They didn't move, didn't speak, but their presence was a weight, a cold that pressed against her lungs, whispering her name beneath the drone. "Lily, you're beautiful." The whisper turned to words, soft, relentless, pulsing with the hum. "Lily, I'm watching." She stayed in the bedroom, lights blazing, door shut, but the sound followed, seeping from the ceiling, the walls, her own breath. Sleep came unbidden, dragging her under, and she stood before the filter, her face warped, eyes glowing brighter, smile wider, text typing, "Lily, you're seen." Shadows shifting behind the screen, their heads tilted, their forms brushing the edges of her vision. The whisper swelled, "Lily, I'm closer." She woke gasping, the clock still at 17 a.m. The phone beside her, she hadn't touched it, the filter glowing, shadows standing in the corners, their forms swaying with her reflection, their gaze a shiver that sank into her marrow. The apartment trembled, the hum a roar that shook her core, the whisper a chant, "Lily, you're beautiful." She tried to flee, grabbed her keys, yanked the door, but it wouldn't budge, the knob buzzing faintly, cold under her touch. The windows reflected not the night but the filter. "Lily, I'm watching." Her face moving, shadows shifting behind the glass, their heads tilting, watching with eyeless faces. She covered the mirrors, unplugged the power, but the glow followed on the fridge, in the glass of a cup, every shine showing her filtered face, shadows swaying in sync. Arya's warning burned in her mind. "It sees you back." The shadows grew bolder that night, standing not just in corners, but beside her, tall, thin, faceless, shifting with the text, "Lily, I'm closer." Their forms her height, their heads tilting as if they knew her. The whisper roared, "Lily, you're seen." She stumbled back, crashing into a chair, but the room pulsed, the glow bending the light, twisting it into a shimmer that synced with the hum. The shadows tilted closer, their forms human, yet wrong, too tall, too thin, too empty, their presence a cold that burned without heat. The apartment darkened, not from night but from the filter's glow devouring it, a void that pressed against her chest, her mind, her soul. Sleep swallowed her, or didn't? She stood in the filter's world, the screen typing, "Lily, you're beautiful." Shadows before her, their heads tilted, their forms flickering like static, their hands reaching cold, electric, alive, their heads twitching as if they saw her. She woke to the hum, the clock frozen, the shadows closer, their forms swaying beside her bed, their cold sinking into her marrow. The glow seared brighter, reflecting not her, but them, standing where she stood, shifting where she breathed, whispering where she was silent, "Lily, I'm closer." The apartment was alive with it, the hum pulsed in the pipes, the walls, the air a drone that wouldn't rest. She tried to scream, but her voice hummed instead, a note in their rhythm, a whisper in their chorus, "Lily, you're seen." The shadows stood out, tall, thin, faceless, watching from every corner, every glint, every shadow. The phone glowed, its light a storm that tore through her core. "Lily, I'm watching." Her face warping faster, shadows shifting closer, their forms sharper, their whisper threading through her skull, "Lily, you're beautiful." The night stretched on, the filter's glow a roar that drowned her thoughts, The shadows inches from her beside her, their forms a mass that pulsed with the hum, their whisper a noose tightening with every breath. Lily, I'm closer. She sank to the floor, hands trembling, the glow searing her vision. The room alive with shadows, dozens now, swaying from the walls, the ceiling, the dark. The hum was her heartbeat, the whisper her pulse, the shadows her mirror. She didn't know where she ended and they began. The apartment stilled, the glow a low pulse, the shadows standing over her, their forms a glitch in the dark, their whisper, a promise. Lily, you're seen. The room darkened, the hum a thread in the silence, the shadows closer, their forms hovering cold, relentless, alive. She didn't remember sleeping, didn't remember waking, but the glow knew threading her name through the drone, pulling her deeper. The shadows stood within her, their forms a flicker in her vision, their whisper a chant she couldn't silence. Lily, I'm watching. The filter pulsed one final time. Lily, I'm closer. Her face speeding up, the shadows watching, waiting, claiming a gaze she couldn't escape, a hum she couldn't stop. She tried to fight, to smash the phone again, but it glowed through the cracks. Lily, you're beautiful. The hum spiking, the shadows sharper, their forms swaying in time, their whisper threading through her skull. Lily, you're seen. The apartment wasn't hers anymore, it belonged to the filter, to the face that warped itself, to the thing that whispered, and she was its captive, trapped in a screen she couldn't close, a drone she couldn't silence. Part 3. Lily's reality had crumbled beneath the filter's unyielding gaze, its glowing screen a void that devoured her every shred of self. The hum wasn't just a sound, it was her, a relentless drone that pulls through her veins, her bones, her soul, a vibration so deep it erased all traces of who she'd been. The clock flickered at 17 a.m., its digits trembling like a heartbeat. On the edge, a cruel anchor in a world that no longer existed. The phone glowed brighter, its screen a cold abyss of warped beauty, her filtered face inches away now, eyes blazing, smile stretching beyond her own, text typing itself without end. Lily, you're seen, casting a shimmer that twisted the apartment into a prison alive with intent, its whisper threading her name through the dark. Lily, I'm closer. Sleep was a lost dream. The boundary between waking and nightmare had shattered under the filter's haunting pulse. She hadn't slept, or had she? But the hum didn't care, dragging her under with its rhythm, its drone a chain that bound her every breath. The shadows weren't just shadows, they were the room, the glow, the air, tall, thin, faceless, swaying with the reflection, their forms stark against the walls, their heads tilting to far, to slow. They didn't move, didn't speak, but their presence was a cold abyss, a static weight that crushed her chest, chanting her name beneath the hum. Lily, you're beautiful. The whisper grew sharper, its words a blade that sliced through her will, her sanity, herself. Lily, I'm watching. She'd tried to fight, smash the phone with a brick, burned the pieces, but the ashes glowed. The filter typing on Lily, I'm here, reinstalling itself on every shard she touched. The shadows stood within reach, now beside her. Behind her, their forms human yet grotesquely wrong, their heads tilting to fast, their silence a scream beneath the drone. She clawed at the floor, desperate for escape, but it pulls back soft, alive, humming her name. Lily, I see you. The apartment trembled, the hum a storm that shook the void, the whisper a vow. Lily, I'm closer. The glow bent the light, twisting it into a shimmer that pulsed with the rhythm, casting the shadows in stark relief, dozens now, shifting from every corner, their forms brushing the walls, their presence endless. She stumbled to the mirror, pounding the glass, but it reflected the filter. Lily, you're seen. Her face warping, shadows shifting behind it, their heads tilting, watching with eyeless faces. The whisper swelled. Lily, I'm watching. Sleep crashed over her, or didn't she? Stood before the filter. Lily, I'm here. Her face warped beyond recognition, eyes blazing, smile endless, shadows before her, their heads tilted, their forms flickering like static, their hands reaching cold, electric, alive, their heads twitching as if they knew her. She woke gasping, or didn't? The clock frozen, the shadows closer, their forms swaying beside her, their cold sinking into her marrow. The glow burned brighter, reflecting not her but them, standing where she stood, shifting where she breathed, whispering where she was silent. Lily, I'm closer. The apartment was alive with it, the hum pulsed in the pipes, the walls, the air, a drone that wouldn't rest, wouldn't fade, wouldn't let go. She tried to scream, but her voice hummed instead, a note in their rhythm, a whisper in their chorus. Lily, you're beautiful. The shadows stood out tall, thin, faceless, watching from every surface, every glint, every shadow. The phone glowed, its light a storm that tore through her core. Lily, I see you. Her face warping faster, shadows shifting closer, their forms sharper, their whisper threading through her skull. Lily, I'm watching. The glow turned unbearable, casting a light that didn't illuminate but consumed, its hum a scream that drowned her thoughts. The shadows were within her, beside her, around her, their forms stark, their heads tilting, their presence a cold that devoured her nerves. The room trembled, the whisper a tempest. Lily, I'm here. She saw them, not shadows but lives endless. Loops of despair, Arya Quinn staring from the screen, a man whispering into nothing, figures swaying in a void that wasn't there. Each one whispered her name, a plea, a claim, pulling her into their abyss. The apartment plunged into a darkness that wasn't absence but presence, a void that pulsed with the hum, its edges brushing her skin, its weight crushing her spirit. She tried to run, but her legs were there, swaying to the rhythm, rooted by a pulse that wasn't hers. The glow seared into her eyes, and she saw not herself but them, her form flickering, breaking, dissolving into the screen. Lily, I'm closer. Her breath theirs, her voice theirs. The shadows' hands brushed her face, cold, relentless, alive, the hum roaring, the whisper a noose. Lily, you're seen. Sleep was them, or she was them. She stood in the filters. World, Lily, I see you. The shadows her mirror, their hands on her wrists, her neck, their rhythm her prison. The hum roared from her throat, her lungs, her soul, a drone that erased her, rewrote her, claimed her. She woke or didn't, the clock dead, the shadows within her, their forms a glitch in her vision, their whisper a chant she couldn't stop. Lily, I'm watching. The glow pulsed. Lily, I'm here. Her face speeding up, the shadows watching, waiting, claiming a gaze she couldn't escape, a hum she couldn't silence. The room stilled, the hum a low thread, the shadows swaying, watching, waiting. She didn't know if she stood or sank, didn't know if she breathed or hummed, but the filter knew, threading her name through the drone, stitching her into its abyss. The shadows were her, over her, around her, through her, their forms, eternal, cold, electric, alive, their rhythm a pulse she couldn't break. The apartment was theirs, the filters, the glows, the hums, and she was theirs. A flicker on the screen, a whisper in the dark, a soul staring back from a face that wouldn't fade. The night stretched on, the filters glow, a whisper on the air. Lily, and then silence, a silence that wasn't empty but alive, waiting, seeing. She didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't need to, because she wasn't Lily anymore. She was theirs, a hum in the glow, a sway in the void, a shadow gazing back from a screen that wouldn't stop, an endless reflection she couldn't escape, a whisper she couldn't silence. Part 4. Lily's existence had been obliterated by the filter's insatiable gaze, its glowing screen a void that swallowed her every fragment of self. The hum wasn't a sound anymore, it was her, a ceaseless roar that pulls through her veins, her bones, her soul, a vibration so deep it erased all traces of who she'd once been. The clock flickered faintly at 17 a.m., its digits a dying pulse in a reality that had long since collapsed, a cruel echo of a time she couldn't reclaim. The phone glowed with a light that wasn't light, cold, piercing, alive, casting a shimmer that consumed the apartment, twisting it into a prison of whispers and shadows, threading her name through the dark. Lily, I'm here. Sleep and waking had fused into one, an endless nightmare where the hum reigned supreme. She didn't know if she stood or fell, didn't know if she breathed or hummed, but the filter knew, pulling her under with its rhythm, its drone a chain that owned her every shudder. The shadows weren't separate, they were her. The room, the glow, tall, thin, faceless, swaying with her warped reflection, their forms stark against the walls, their heads tilting to far, their presence stretching beyond the edges of her sight. They didn't move, didn't touch, but their weight was a cold abyss, a static force that crushed her chest, chanting her name beneath the hum. Lily, I'm watching. The whisper was a scream now, its words a blade that sliced through her mind, her will, her essence. Lily, I'm closer. She'd tried to resist, smashed every device, burned the remnants, but the ashes glowed brighter. The filter typing on Lily, I see you, reinstalling itself on every shard she touched. The shadows stood within her, beside her, around her, through her, their forms her, yet grotesquely warped, their heads tilting to fast, their silence a roar that drowned her thoughts. She clawed at her skin, desperate for something real, but the hum pulsed beneath her flesh, a rhythm that answered only to the filter. Lily, you're seen. The apartment trembled. The filter's glow a tempest that shook the void. The whisper a vow. Lily, I'm here. The glow twisted the air, bending it into a shimmer that pulsed with the rhythm, casting the shadows in a cold, endless dance. Hundreds now, shifting from every corner, their forms brushing her, their presence eternal. She stumbled to the screen, hands bleeding, nails torn, but it pulsed back alive, unyielding, humming her name in a chorus that wouldn't stop. The mirrors reflected not her but them, thousands of shadows, shifting in the dark, their heads tilted, their whispers a demand. Lily, I'm closer. Sleep swallowed her or never left. She stood in the filter's world. Lily, I'm watching. Her face warped beyond recognition, eyes blazing, smile endless, shadows before her, their heads tilted, their forms flickering like static, their hands reaching cold, electric, alive, their heads twitching as if they knew her. She woke or didn't, the clock dead, the shadows inside her, their forms swaying through her, their cold sinking into her soul. The glow burned brighter, reflecting not her but them, lives she'd never lived, faces she'd never known, each one swaying, whispering her name, pulling her into their abyss. Lily, I'm here. The apartment was the hum, the walls breathed it, the floors pulsed it, the air sang it, a drone that wouldn't rest, wouldn't fade, wouldn't release her. She tried to scream, but her voice was theirs, humming their rhythm, whispering their chant. Lily, I see you. The shadows stood within her, over her, around her, their forms a mass that pulsed with the glow, their hands brushing her eyes, her throat cold, electric, claiming. The screen roared, its light a storm that tore through her core. Lily, you're beautiful. Her face warping faster, shadows shifting closer, their forms sharper, their whisper threading through her skull. Lily, I'm watching. The glow seared into her eyes, a light that didn't illuminate but consumed, its hum a scream that annihilated her mind. The shadows were her, beside her, around her, through her, their forms stark, their heads tilting, their presence a cold that devoured her nerves. The room trembled, the whisper a hurricane. Lily, I'm closer. She saw them, not shadows but souls, endless loops of despair. Arya Quinn whispering from the screen, a man swaying in nothing, figures shifting in a void that wasn't there. Each one whispered her name, a plea, a claim, a curse pulling her into their eternity. The apartment plunged into a darkness that wasn't absence but presence, a void that pulsed with the hum, its edges brushing her skin, its weight erasing her spirit. She tried to run, but her legs were there, swaying to the rhythm, rooted by a pulse that wasn't hers. The glow burned through her eyes, and she saw not herself but them, her form flickering, breaking, dissolving into the screen. Lily, I'm watching. Her breath theirs, her voice theirs, herself theirs. The shadows' hands brushed her face, cold, relentless, alive, the hum roaring, the whisper a noose. Lily, I'm here. Sleep was them or she was them. She stood in the void. Lily, I see you. The shadows her mirror, their hands on her wrists, her neck, their rhythm her tomb. The hum roared from her throat, her lungs, her soul, a drone that consumed her, rewrote her, owned her. She woke or didn't, the clock dead, the shadows her, their forms a glitch in her flesh, their whisper a chant she couldn't stop. Lily, I'm closer. The glow pulsed one final time. Lily, you're seen. Her face speeding up, the shadows watching, waiting, claiming a gaze she couldn't escape, a hum she couldn't silence. Days passed or didn't. The apartment stood empty, dust settling on the floor, the walls silent but alive. A friend knocked, the door creaking open to stillness. The phone lay on the table, its screen blank, but a faint hum pulsed from it. A whisper on the air, you're beautiful. A note lay in the dust, scrawled in Lily's hand. I see now. The glow flickered. The filter loaded, his face typing endlessly. You're seen. Watching. The friend stared, curious, and the screen hummed a soft, low drone that threaded through the silence, whispering his name. I see you. The shadows shifted, their forms tall and thin, their heads tilting beyond the screen. The glow pulsed, the hum grew, the whisper a promise. I'm closer. The cycle turned, the filter seeing, the hum reaching, the screen, a trap for another soul to claim, another life to fade into its endless gaze, a whisper that wouldn't end. Lily was gone, not gone, but there's trapped in the filter, a hum. In the glow, a shadow staring back. The apartment settled, the screen dimmed, but the hum lingered a thread in the silence, searching for its next face. The shadows remained, unseen but alive, their rhythm a call for someone new to look to, see, to become a filter that sees forever.